name's Elliot Schwartz. I've been doing the panels this week. And this panel, Is That Real? Hello Kitty Rumors and Fakes Revealed. This is where we get to the bottom, the dirt, all of it. And we've got a couple of great guys to answer all of our questions that we've all been asking. Please help me welcome Dave Marchi and Frank Roca. Come on out. I think these mics are on. I'll have you guys kind of introduce yourselves and explain what you guys do at Sanrio, so you're authorized.
Hi everybody, I'm Dave Marchi. I'm Senior Director of Brand Management and Marketing with Sanrio.
Yay!
Thank you!
My name's Frank Roca, and I'm General Counsel for Sanrio North America.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's get into it. Here we go.
All right.
So let's, I guess, first talk about how you can tell the real Hello Kitty from the fakes out there.
I've been with Sanrio for 14 years, and I think, if there are fans out there, you can probably have the same experience, but 95% of the time you can just tell by looking, and you know that there's something that's off. Either the bow's messed up, or the bow's on the other side, or the eyes and the nose are strangely placed, or she has a mouth, or her head is shaped strangely. So it's fairly obvious. Like, I can walk down a street and say, fake, 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 real, fake, fake, fake. So I guess it's a natural instinct that I've developed. And again, many of you probably have as well.
Did you bring one? Should we bring that out first?
Sure.
One of my favorites, because that applies to the fake.
Yeah.
You know.
So this is a great example of a very, well, I'll let you take a look at it.
Now listen up, everybody. This is actually a recruitment seminar. You're going to be looking for all the fakes for us. Expect emails from all of you.
Frank's email, and he's going to tell you where to go at.
Don't blow up my email, please.
And again, sometimes the fakes are just so bad that I actually enjoy them because they're ridiculous, such as this one. So I think you can all just take a look at her or him and know that that's really not Hello Kitty, right?
So you could literally have that and be like, what's wrong with this picture? And you can circle all the...
Hello Kitty is a young boy in this one.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, so it's this one's in our archives because it's so bad that it's good.
That's just so blatant.
Yeah.
You know. Well, we'll talk about more later how legality-wise we deal with all of the fakes. But what have been, and I'm sure we've all seen them, but what have like the strangest bootleg products out there that you've seen?
Strangest bootleg products. The drug paraphernalia. Which is obviously fake, because we would never create anything like that. And I see it all the time too. There's, everywhere in LA there are head shops and smoke shops and things like that, and I always see some things in the windows that are obviously not real.
Now keep in mind too, it may be bootleg here in North America, which is the United States and Canada for us, but it may actually be something that would be approved in another country. And that's because Sanrio operates at a corporate level on a subsidiary model. And what that means is that Dave and myself work for Sanrio Inc., and that's located in San Francisco, and that's where our corporate offices are. And we also have offices in Europe, in Brazil, in Southeast Asia, and each one of those companies creates their own set of products and works with different companies than we do. And that's why if you go over to JANM, and as you tour that exhibit, you'll see products that you'll be quite surprised to see. But you won't see them being sold here, at least legally. North America takes a different approach to how it portrays Hello Kitty and her world.
And actually, that's a great point, because one of those products which we didn't know about until the news came out was the fruit-flavored alcoholic beverage / beer from Taiwan. And we didn't know that, and obviously in Taiwan there's a market for this, and it's marketed to adult women who enjoy alcoholic beverages and Hello Kitty. And we didn't know it was available, and then there was some news that ran about the Hello Kitty people, or Sanrio, are marketing beer to children, and we didn't know what it was. So we did a little research and found out, okay, this is a beverage for the Taiwan market, and yes, it's a legitimate product, but that's not something that we would necessarily launch here, because it doesn't necessarily make sense to the US. But it is in the museum, actually, right now.
There you go. Yeah. And Frank, going back to that, does that kind of play into what you were talking about earlier about kind of the gray market type counterfeit stuff a little bit?
Yeah, so before the seminar started, we were talking about, you're here to see and hear about things that are fake versus real, maybe like the Hello Kitty gun that you've heard in the news, things like that. Those are the easy things, at least for us. There are things out there called gray market goods versus counterfeit goods. And a gray market good is artwork that we've approved internally, or a product we have approved internally. But it's being sold based on a set of terms in a contract. And let's say this bag right here, which you guys have probably seen, is approved by people internal to Sanrio Inc., and it is sold in the United States and Canada. If you were to see this in England, for instance, and we do get reports like this on a daily basis, we'll say, okay, this is an approved product, we've seen this, we've approved it, but why is it in England? And you see that in your daily lives all the time, on eBay, sometimes on Amazon, and just general websites. And you're like, why is that so cheap compared to the store across the street? Probably because it is what they call a gray market good. And then you have counterfeits, which is that. And that is someone somewhere who, in this case, thankfully not taking our artwork and putting it on a piggy bank, but there are people who do take approved artwork and then apply it to something they've made generically. And that is a counterfeit. And it's something we'll talk about a little later in terms of how you can learn to identify a counterfeit, which for you, as fans, it's really important that when you go out and spend your hard-earned money on something, you're actually buying something authentic. And authentic means, and you're like, well, why is a Loungefly bag $60? That's really expensive. Well, it's because Sanrio has a team of about 30 designers who are, on a daily basis, taking in submissions from our licensees and looking at the artwork and making sure the stitching, the quality of the materials, the sequin is in the right pattern, the color is the right pink. You're basically paying for that oversight and for the manufacturer to create a quality product for you.
Yeah, that's a great point, because this whole week we've kind of been talking to the designers and fans on these panels about the product, and really how much love of the product goes into it behind the scenes, goes into the product for it to have that Sanrio stamp. So some of kind of the counterfeit stuff may not have that same kind of, also it may not look exactly like it, but also doesn't have the company's maybe ethos in mind as well. Now you mentioned the gun situation a little earlier. Dave, what about the gun?
The gun.
The Hello Kitty gun.
Yeah.
Has everyone heard about the Hello Kitty gun? Okay.
The guns and the rifles and lots of different firearms, that occasionally, again, get picked up by the media, or someone sees a picture of it somewhere, that someone somewhere has a Hello Kitty assault rifle. And again,
put that on the short list to be approved, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's and again, part of me finds it almost laughable that it's so not us that we would never even think of doing something like that, but unfortunately, if an image gets picked up and then the media picks it up, suddenly it somehow becomes almost, some people think that it's an actual item. So
Yeah.
of course we have information to share with people to explain this is obviously not an authentic Sanrio item, and we would never brand ourselves with anything related to firearms. But some people, you know, if someone owns a rifle and they have it pink and they decide to put a Hello Kitty sticker on it, there's not a lot we can do. If they try to market it as a Hello Kitty firearm, or if they try to rent it out at a firing range as a, you know, Hello Kitty shooting experience or something like that, that's when we go after them. And it's laughable, but it's true, and that has happened. It's happened more than once.
The shooting,
Yeah,
there was shooting experience, yeah, that like.
Someone had been offering a Hello Kitty shooting experience, and I believe, did you help shut that down, Frank, or was that?
Okay, Dave, we need to meet in my office on Monday.
I mean, and then, you know, there are angry parents, and people will write to us and say, why would you create this? So we explain what the deal is.
Well, and that ties into to what you were talking about the nightclub nights a little bit.
Nightclub, yeah.
Nightclubs,
Yeah.
where, well, you know.
So yeah, another one that I don't know if I'm like looped into the club scene, which I'm not, but it seems like every weekend someone somewhere is having Hello Kitty club night, and there's some kind of rave or club or something with, I'm not even sure what's going on, but somehow it's Hello Kitty themed, and often they use our artwork, they use our products, they use sometimes costumes to create these club experiences, which are again not authorized, and we have no idea what's going on. So we do our best to shut that down and make sure that they're not kind of trading off our name and offering some sort of unauthorized Hello Kitty experience.
Yeah,
Now, you know, keep in mind too is, you know, from a legal perspective, we call that copyright infringement or trademark infringement. And that's important because in the United States, we have a very defined set of rules that define those two characteristics. And intellectual property generally is a property right of its owner. So anytime, let's say you go out and let's say you write a short story and you send it to your friend, you've basically created a form of copyright. McDonald's, Nike, Sanrio, Hello Kitty, these are all trademarks, and they are what we call source identifiers. So for you, what that means is anytime you see that red bow on something, it should click in your mind, oh my gosh, that's Hello Kitty. That's a trademark, and we protect it at a very high level because we understand that if we let that trademark go, people like in the rave scene can take it and it dilutes our mark, and therefore you don't know what is our product and what isn't.
yeah.
And I'm okay with ravers wearing Hello Kitty, of course, as long as they don't market a rave as a Hello Kitty rave.
Hello Kitty rave experience, yeah, no go.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of those things too online. You're like,
It's okay,
"Wow."
ravers, you can still wear your Hello Kitty.
You're all welcome.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point too. You know, to make it really general, it's really commercial exploitation of our marks. We understand. In fact, actually, this is a good point. This is what I tell a lot of people on the other side of the phone that I talk to on a daily basis for legal issues is, you know, Frank, I represent these other companies, and they don't have the same feeling as you do about your property. And I'm like, you're right, they don't. Because they have customers and we have fans. And that's a really big distinction. You know, for instance, this convention is for you. It's not to find more pocketbooks to buy product. And because of that, we're very protective of what gets communicated to you. In fact, I think that's the motto of our company, is as a social communication company, that's what we're looking to do, is we're looking to engage you personally.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think too, it's interesting, we talked about a little earlier how Hello Kitty, unlike, you know, maybe other characters, seems to kind of get more traction news-wise. Like we talked about the DUI, the group lady, it was reported that Hello Kitty got pulled over for a DUI. So it wasn't necessarily this woman that was wearing a bootleg dress.
Right, exactly.
But
Well,
it became
Hello Kitty busted for DUI, and I think it was last week, and I think it was in Northern California. But the headline was Hello Kitty gets a DUI, which is, of course, great to see in the paper. And it was just a woman, I think she was either at a Halloween party, or I don't know if she was one of the street performers who was wearing some kind of Hello Kitty-esque costume,
Right.
but apparently she was wearing it and she had been drinking and she drove, which was obviously not wise.
Right.
And then it became, Hello Kitty
Right.
DUI.
And I've heard that story from a few fans this week, and the angriest they were was that she was wearing something bootleg and giving the fan base a bad name.
And I joined those fans.
We all join those fans. So there's also, the other thing that everyone talks about, or when they come up and ask me, is it real, is the, I guess the official name is the Hello Kitty shoulder massage. Has everyone heard of the shoulder massager? Yeah? No?
The portable mini, neck massager.
Mini massage wand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real.
That's probably the most legendary of the kind of conversations about Hello Kitty and Sanrio products. And again, to Frank's point, the portable massage wand is a real product that is available. Actually, it was made available in Asia. Again, it's a gray market because I don't know if it was never sold in the US or meant to be sold in the US. And some people call it other names. But it's a real product, and it exists. But in Asia, there are many of these portable mini massagers from lots of different properties and brands,
Right.
and they're just little massagers.
Well, that's one of the things we hear about these things literally every day, guys. We wake up every morning, come in, check our email, and just shake our head. Whether it's gray market, counterfeit, news stories.
Attention magic wand.
Yeah, attention magic. Yeah, exactly. David is getting calls from journalists. The idea here is that, again, we're very protective of that. We hear your concerns. We do see them. They don't go, surprisingly how widespread Sanrio is and all of its characters worldwide. We're a surprisingly small company. And because of that, anything that usually comes into our company, we see or get to deal with directly. Now, in this case, products like that, the internet has made it increasingly difficult to control. So, like David was saying, it is an approved product in Asia, but that doesn't mean that company couldn't put it on the internet and sell it around the world. Now, theoretically, in Asia, that company who, I don't even know if they're still making it, but if they were, or any product, they would have a contract that says you can only sell it in these countries, and the US would not be one of them because we wouldn't approve it to come into North America. So sometimes, for instance, when you go onto a website and you want to buy it and it says, well, we can't ship it to your state or country, you're like, well, why is that? It's more than likely because there are issues either with product safety, meaning it hasn't been tested for your market. They don't have the rights to sell it in your state or country. Or because maybe it's an exclusive product, meaning they only want to sell it for a limited time, things like that.
And we actually, the massager is on display at Janum as well.
But not for sale.
But not for sale, yeah.
Unused.
Correct.
And Frank, we talked about earlier, I mean, just kind of the basic that, to go off of that the licensee that Sanrio kind of doesn't even also make a lot of the products as well.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. You know, a lot of the emails and letters that I see, usually angry ones, say, how could you possibly do this? My child saw this, I thought you guys were a great brand or a family-oriented brand. And it's one thing, it's hard to communicate the concept of licensing to fans and customers. But that's what we are, we're a licensor, and there are licensees out there. So for instance, this headband that I see a lot of you wearing, the bags that you're carrying, these are all what we call licensed products. A lot of your handbags, shoes, hats, things like that, clothing, are all licensed products too. And what that means is the person who owns that mark that you're buying, for instance, you're buying the red bow, that company doesn't actually have manufacturing facilities anywhere in the world making this stuff. It's other parties who know how to make headbands. Maybe, and I don't know if this is accurate, but maybe, you know, when you go to Burger King, they have those crowns. Maybe the same company that makes those crowns are making these headbands too. But what we do is we're very protective of that artwork, and then those companies will come to us and say, hey, we want to do a headband for your convention. Can we do that? And we're like, yes, you're a very reputable company. Here's our artwork. This is how we want it to look for our fans. Go forth and make 1 million copies of that for us. Go forth. Yeah, with our blessing. And that's licensing, and that's what we do. We don't actually make hardly any of our own product. It would be impossible to give you the product selection that you see if we had to own all of those factories. You know, another good point to talk about licensing is it's helpful to understand, again, why you pay what you do for the product. So for instance, when you go out and you're buying other brands, what you're doing is you're buying the quality of the materials and the people at the offices who are overseeing that brand for you. If you were to buy that, that may only cost you $2.50 on the street corner. But of course you're not going to get the red bow, and maybe that's what you really want. And when you're looking at it, you know it's not authentic.
You said with the bag too that you brought out.
Yeah, so this is a really...
That's like the real deal.
Like I said, this is a recruitment seminar, and the way you're going to be able to identify some of our products, you've probably seen this if you've been to a Dodger game or a football game, and you're like, well, what are all those holographic stickers on everything? And actually they do that for your Visa card too. That is a form of anti-counterfeiting, and it's sort of like a watermark, and we have the same thing on our products. So if you look at any of the products in the bags you're carrying, and you look at the hang tag, you'll see on the back, it has a black circle that says Sanrio on it, and it has what they call a SIL number, S-I-L, and there's a number that follows it. Of course, you see all these other marks as well. And I wish we don't have it up on the Jumbotron here, but we have 3 marks right here. We have one, our own, Hello Kitty, and it tells you when the product was made. And then we have Loungefly. This is the licensee who actually produced this bag for us. Loungefly is the one who has manufacturing facilities that makes bags. And then we have basically our watermark right here on the left. And that says, used under license, Sanrio Inc. And that says Sanrio USA. Now the product coming out of Europe says Sanrio GmbH, which is where our offices are located in Germany.
A cat in the traditional sense. We always have referenced her as a little girl. And again, I'm so deep in the Sanrio world that it's just, I'm like, of course, she's a little girl. In doing so, again, she's not a cat in that sense that she's not walking around on all fours, she's not eating cat food, she's not drinking milk from a bowl, but she has a bottle of milk.
And she has a cat as a pet.
And she has a cat as a pet. Thank you, Frank. So, and again, it goes even deeper into the nature of kind of anthropomorphic characters in that ultimately, if you get down to it, you wouldn't describe, well, maybe you, I guess the Simpsons are people, but Mickey Mouse is, He is a mouse, but he's a mouse that walks around on two legs and talks. So we've always just referenced her as a little girl. And again, you might have seen, actually you can even see on the screens, when you walk in, there's an animation playing of the very first Hello Kitty animation, and it's a really cool, if you haven't seen it, stop motion animation of Hello Kitty, and it came out in 1975, which incidentally I think they're showing it here at some point in November, but it's animation and she has a mouth. She's talking and crying and playing with her sister. So she is often portrayed without a visible mouth, and that's kind of the graphical portrayal, which again lends to her allure, and I think the way that she looks is often without a mouth. But we always say that she speaks from the heart, and she definitely connects and communicates regardless of a visible mouth or not. And again, sometimes she does have a mouth in animations, in digital formats. It's there. She was singing on stage yesterday, so it's, again, there's never a clear answer, and it's probably going to be more confusing the more we talk about it, but the bottom line is she's often portrayed without a mouth in graphics, but she always speaks from the heart.